All right. Hello, 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 and welcome to the nursing news you can use at 5. I'm Tina Baxter, your host, and I want to thank you for coming on. And I just want to double check and make sure everything's going well on our Facebook pages. And it looks like things are going okay. So we are set. So, welcome again to the show. Thank you for this February the 7th, 2024. Welcome to those of you that are watching us on YouTube and those that are on our Baxter Professional Services and the Nurse Shark Academy Facebook pages. I want to thank you. So, let's go ahead and get into what we have for today. I want to start with our affirmations. This our first affirmation. I begin the day by reminding myself that life supports me and wants me to be fulfilled and happy. I begin the day by reminding myself that life supports me and wants me to be fulfilled and happy. Next affirmation. Everyone in my family is divinely protected at all times. Everyone in my family is divinely protected at all times. And lastly, I help my body, my mind, and my spirit live healthfully by creating a loving atmosphere around me. I help my body, my mind, and my spirit live healthfully by creating a loving atmosphere around me. And those are from the Louise Hay Daily Affirmation Calendar that I received from a wonderful dear friend. Okay, so let's get into the news. We have some news that we need to cover, and then we'll go over some announcements at the end. I get excited when we get to the announcements part because I always like to talk about the good things that are happening. But before we get into the news, I just want to share some quick things about today. Have you just a leadership moment? We're gonna take a little leadership moment. Have you ever had like a super productive day? Like a day when things just seem to be flowing. Today was that day for me. I got up this morning and we had our 8 a.m. prayer call, and I was on the prayer call this morning. And then I left the prayer call and went to a board meeting. I was in the board meeting, left the board meeting, immediately got into another networking phone call with someone who now I'm going to be doing two events for her, doing two seminars for her. Then I met with another person later on, and then I had a networking meeting for Anderson Alignable group online, and then I met with a client at to help her in her business, and came back right after that, had another meeting, and I just left the second meeting and just in time to hop in to see you. Why am I saying this? Is because sometimes you have those really productive days where things just seem to be flowing and things be going. But what happens when you have those days when things aren't flowing? So I'm gonna tell you what happened with me. So Saturday I was supposed to be doing a podcast interview. I had someone who was coming on the Nurse Shark Academy show, the other show we have, and I had set it up. I've been looking forward to it, wanting to see this person. Couldn't wait. We had to reschedule the last time because I think she was sick. I can't remember why we rescheduled, but I finally got her on the schedule, and then I got sick. And I completely spaced the whole thing. I had taken some medication that kind of made me kind of ugh. And so I didn't remember to come, and so I had to reschedule for her. But I say that you have those days where everything's going well, everything's doing great, and then you have those days where it's just like nothing seems to be working out. And so that's why I do our daily affirmations, is why I wanted to bring this up. This is why I do our daily affirmations, is to remind us that yes, everything that we need is available to us. We just have to reach out for it. And even when the things get rough, things get, you get tired, things happen, we can always come back to the fact that we can do something to make a positive change in our life. And a lot of times it's how we show up, it's our attitude. And so was able to salvage that relationship, called her that Monday after it's sent her an email, but I called her and apologized profusely because I'm like, I usually don't miss appointments like that. But it was just totally gone, totally spaced it. So today is a day where I felt like, okay, I'm gonna hit it big and I'm gonna keep going because in the back of my mind, I'm like making up for that day where I didn't get anything done that I wanted to get done because I wasn't feeling well. So just give yourself a little bit of grace. All right, let's get started into our news today because I want to get us into the news so we can move on to the good stuff, as I like to say. But there are some things coming and some things happening. So we have a story that's coming from about Amazon. This is a story that says Amazon reportedly to cut hundreds of healthcare jobs. Now, those of you may not know, but Amazon developed a medical service and a pharmacy, and now up to 400 people could lose their jobs. So let's get into it. Amazon is reportedly cutting over 100 jobs at One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy, according to a letter to employees from Amazon Healthcare Services executive Neil Lindsay. Roughly 115 positions may be eliminated within the healthcare division, according to Business Insider, in a move to decrease One Medical operating losses. Alpha reported that the job cuts could amount to several hundred as part of a company-wide effort to save 100 million this year. One Medical aims to cut its fixed operating costs from 41% to 20% of total revenue by 2028, the Insider report said, adding that the company also plans to reduce the cost of each patient's visit to $322 in 2024 from $372 in 2023. In an email to employees, Amazon Health Services Senior Vice President confirmed that the elimination of a few hundred roles within the Amazon Pharmacy and One Medical. The company also has been realigning One Medical's finance, legal, and tech teams into AHS, he said. We're seeing very strong momentum and positive customer feedback across our healthcare offerings as we continue our mission to make healthcare simpler for customers. We're realigning some resources to help accelerate our efforts to deliver the best experience for our patients, customers, and members. Unfortunately, these adjustments will result in the elimination of a few hundred roles within Amazon Pharmacy and One Medical. We're grateful to these team members for their contributions and will support them in their next steps. We will continue hiring providers and investing teams in technology that will help us provide the high quality and accessible care to more people. So we'll see how this goes. But again, this is kind of like a larger trend that we're seeing. Hospitals closing, nursing homes closing. Now it's even kind of affecting Amazon. So it says the job cuts to the healthcare division are the latest to impact Amazon's business units, according to the Seeking Alpha report. Last year, the company cut jobs at Audible, Prime Video, Twitch, and Buy with Prime divisions. Amazon recently announced better than expected fourth quarter results and set an upbeat guidance for Q1 of 2024. So we'll see how this shakes out. But this came from Healthcare Finance. So we'll see more. We'll keep an eye on this. Here's our next story. This came from Skilled Nursing News. And it says 17 Peterson nursing homes embroiled in foreclosure suits involving nearly 51 million in loans. So let's get on into it. An Illinois-based nursing home operator, which owns nearly 100 senior living properties across the state, as well as others in Missouri and Iowa, faces legal challenges as prosecutors point to alleged unpaid loans. Peterson Healthcare faces 2 foreclosure cases filed in the Illinois Northern District Court, litigation that's linked to an alleged failure to repay nearly $51 million in loans, according to case filings and a report from the Journal Star. 17 of Peterson's properties were named in the cases, with 8 being placed in receivership. So again, with all the changes that have been happening with healthcare, workforce shortages, increased scrutiny on long-term care, we're starting to see more of these nursing homes and losing their funding and having trouble staying open. And they're looking at shortages in reimbursement, increased labor costs, increased costs for maintaining the buildings. This whole thing kind of cascades. And so this is some more information. So let's get into some more. So it says the first foreclosure suit filed on January the 23rd by Excalibur Funding LLC alleges that 8 Peterson properties owe more than $31 million. In a statement, Peterson said the decision was, quote, a very aggressive action. These properties were placed in receivership on January the 25th, which means Peterson is no longer running the facilities. The original bridge loan was for $440 million secured in October 2019, court documents show. The receiver, Kansas-based Flanagan and Associates, told staff on the 8 properties that the business will continue to operate under the management of Walnut Creek Management Company, an affiliate of Tutora Senior Living and Healthcare, according to the Journal Star report. Staff were also told that they shouldn't have trouble cashing checks, but if they do, to contact managers. The Tutura group visited the site without prior notice to assess and manage the care in these facilities, Peterson said in a statement to the Journal Star. Peterson Health Care continues to own the facilities and is cooperating with Tutura to help ensure that there is minimal impact on our staff and that our residents continue to receive quality care, the Illinois operator said. Peterson is now working with its lenders to find a solution to return the facilities to their management, the team noted, adding that inadequate state and federal funding, along with staffing challenges, were significant factors leading to the current receivership. So, again, I just wanted to bring out that these are issues that are being faced in long-term care and other healthcare entities. The second lawsuit was filed on January 31st by Maryland-based Capital Funding and involves 9 other Peterson facilities. 8 in their capital funding alleged a breach of contract. So we'll see how this shakes out. Thanks to Skilled Nursing News for this important story. This is a story that came out from Iowa Dispatch, and I thought this was kind of concerning. It says, Iowa nurses sanctioned by Board of Nursing for drug theft, fraud, and being drunk on the job. The Iowa Board of Nursing has revoked the license of Cedar Rapids hospital nurse accused of repeatedly showing up for work while intoxicated. Roberta Ann Nadvig of Cedar Rapids had worked as a registered nurse in the Children's Behavioral Unit at Cedar Rapids St. Luke Hospital since 2009. In June of 2022, the Board of Nursing received reports that Nadvig had been exhibiting signs of intoxication during her work shifts. 2 of her co-workers alleged she had been repeatedly late for work and was visibly fatigued, fumbling over her words, and exhibiting abnormal behavior. Both individuals allegedly told the board Nadvig had acknowledged drinking alcohol prior to her shifts. In speaking with the board investigator, Nadvig denied being intoxicated during her shifts, but acknowledged problems with alcohol abuse. Nadvig continued to practice, but was enrolled in the Iowa Nurses Assistance Program. Within weeks, she allegedly self-reported the use of alcohol, failed to attend treatment sessions, failed to complete a mental health evaluation, and failed to submit to drug and alcohol screening. Other licensure issues, and these are things that I want nurses to be aware of, in Iowa, Sheena Streekwald of East Dubuque was recently charged with practicing nursing at an unspecified inpatient hospital while under the influence. She agreed to surrender her license. Teresa Hoffmeister of Sioux City was charged with behavior that violated the standards of professional decorum. She was allegedly working at an unspecified hospital in May of 2023 when she got on the intercom and began broadcasting ghost-like noises into the rooms of a minor who was a psychiatric patient. The board issued her a warning. These are things that, obviously using drugs, using alcohol before you go to work and going to work intoxicated is something that nurses know you should not do. But this is silly. You get on there and you're pretending to be a ghost and you've got a psychiatric patient. Yeah, this is why I bring this up. It's like, this is stuff not to do, okay? Fawn Monroe of Alpena, Michigan, who recently pleaded guilty in federal Medicare fraud case and agreed to surrender her license to practice in Iowa. According to the prosecutors, Monroe was a participant in a scheme to prescribe $3.3 million worth of unneeded medical equipment to patients she had never seen in return for kickbacks. Monroe and other participants in the scheme were responsible for a combined 367 million in false and fraudulent claims to Medicare. So I want to say these are some issues because I have had some unscrupulous DME companies, lab companies come in and say, hey, sign this, and so we can screen your patients, whether they need it or not. And then just willy-nilly, they talk the nurses into signing away and signing these people up for that. And this is where you can get into trouble. So I bring these cases out because I want nurses and others in the healthcare field to know, hey, this is how you get caught up. Don't do it. Prosecutors cited one example in which Monroe recommended braces for a patient right and left ankles, although the man's right leg had been amputated years before. So Monroe has yet to be sentenced in that criminal case. There are more. This is another one. So this is where we're talking about those issues where the Pyxis machine or the drug dispensing machine doesn't work, or you have to do a workaround. So here's Derek Miller of West Branch, who recently agreed to surrender his license after being accused of failing to comply with board orders that stem from past disciplinary action. In 2014, Miller was accused of working at an unspecified medical center when he overrode an electronic medication dispensing device in order to procure narcotics, ostensibly for a patient who had a physician order for the drug. Miller was currently charged with 10 counts of drug possession and allegedly admitted that he had taken the Xanax for years without a prescription. As part of the plea deal with prosecutors, 7 of the 10 felony charges were dismissed in exchange for a guilty plea to 3 misdemeanor drug charges. In 2021, the board charged Miller with committing an act that may adversely affect a patient and with failing to safeguard patient medications. The board alleged that while working at an unspecified care facility, Miller lost the keys to the medication cart, left the cart unlocked and unattended, and left medication at the resident's bedside without a doctor's order. He's also accused of procuring oxycodone for a resident who didn't complain of pain and had not requested the medication. And again, I have had situations where, I've worked on the unit as a nurse practitioner, and there was one time where there was a patient that we had a chart. This is the crazy thing. On the resident's chart, there was a note taped to the chart that says, do not wake resident up to offer him pain medication at night. And my first question is, why are you waking him up to give him pain medicine? I checked to make sure that we weren't scheduling pain medicine for nighttime and find out when time he went to bed. Then I noticed that every night on a certain nurse's shift, he was supposedly requesting pain medication and she had to waste it. The nurse was diverting. So these are how those things can happen. And this is why I bring these stories up, not to vilify the people that are in the stories, but I think that we all need to understand that how easily these things can happen and get us caught up. So as a result, his license was placed on probation. Okay. Shelby Hoteling of Ankeny, who worked for Gentiva Hospice in 2023 when she was allegedly procured narcotic pain medicine for a dying patient more often than was prescribed. Board documents indicate police then obtained a search warrant for her house and car and found several drugs belonging to former hospital patients. The board reportedly voted to indefinitely suspend Hoteling's license pending the completion of mental health and chemical dependency evaluations. So here's another, Renee Nesbitt of Urindale, who was recently charged by the board with failing to comply with an order related to a law that prohibits nurses from knowingly making misleading, deceptive, untrue, or fraudulent representations in their practice of the profession or engaging in unethical conduct or practice harmful or detrimental to the public. The board has not disclosed the alleged conduct that gave rise to the charge, so we're going to keep an eye on this one. But I will have to say, nurses, know your Nurse Practice Act. Check it regularly if there's been any changes. This is why it's important to be part of your professional organizations, because often they will send you an alert when new legislation is coming out or something's happening with your Nurse Practice Act that you need to be aware of. But it says that the court records indicate that Nesbitt had worked at Polk City Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, and that a 2021 arrest for a third offense, drunken driving, led to her enrollment in the Iowa Nursing Assistance Program and to a subsequent criminal conviction. Here's another one. Polly Treffis of Cedar Rapids, who was recently charged by the board with performing nursing services beyond the scope of practice for which she is authorized. The board alleges Treffis worked at an unspecified hospital from late 2020 to July 2022 when she administered a dose of intravenous medication to a patient without a physician's order. I had this happen again working in another facility. As a nurse practitioner, I saw a nurse who was routinely just giving patients Miralax because she wanted everybody to poop, whether they had an order or not. Do not do this. The board then ordered Treffis to complete 36 hours of educational training in medication safety. Here's another one. Several stealing medications, possession of a controlled substance. And so again, I'm bringing some of these out because I want you to see some of the things that can happen. And again, know your Nurse Practice Act. Don't go beyond what your scope of practice says you can do. Please don't. I don't care what the facility tells you. I don't care what the doctor tells you. And he says, I'm giving you this authority, because guess what? They have short memories, and you do something outside of your scope of practice and something happens to that patient, they're going to turn around and say, I never told you that. That's not what I intended to say. You took that the wrong way, and et cetera, et cetera. Or I have no recollection of that. So again, nurses, know your Nurse Practice Act for yourself. So this is a case I found interesting, and we're going to definitely see what happens. This is from McKnight's Long-Term Care News, and it says, court orders attorney to pay nursing home legal fees in frivolous false claims case. Let's get into it. So it's an attorney who brought a false claims case against a Mississippi long-term care provider using publicly available and later disproven information must pay the facility's legal fees, a court has affirmed. A U.S. District Court judge for the Northern District of Mississippi Friday declined a request to reconsider the awarding the fees, which could surpass $1 million, and said a further hearing would be scheduled. The decision is a rare win for a healthcare provider. It not only ensures that the case is dismissed, but offers the promise of some repayment for the time and effort of battling a specious claim over several years. The relator or would-be whistleblower in the United States, X-Rail, I don't know, JEHL versus GGNSC South Haven, is an attorney who had previously deposed one of the facility's licensed nurse practitioners in another case. That's how he discovered, or so he thought, that South Haven had employed that NP when her multi-state license was temporarily revoked. In 2019, Cameron Gill bought a qui tam action seeking damages, penalties, and fees under the False Claims Act, alleging that the NP had been unlicensed for nearly a year and violated federal regulations while serving as the Director of Nursing Services. He claimed the facility, operating as a Golden Living Center, had received millions of reimbursement payments to which it was not entitled, and sought a payout of $30 million. By late 2022, two federal courts had found that the case unmeritorious, noting a complete failure of proof on each of these essential elements of the plaintiff's claims. With the decision in South Haven's favor, the facility and its owner sought to have attorney's fees paid under the False Claims Act fee-shifting provision. So it says Senior U.S. District Judge Glenn H. Davidson noted that such redress is only available if the defendant prevails in the action and the court finds that the claim of the person bringing the action was clearly frivolous, clearly vexatious, or brought primarily for the purpose of harassment. A lower court last year found that in jail's claim fell into the frivolous category, and ruled in the facility's favor. It says key to this case. Not only did a jail, I'm just going to say jail, build his case on information available through public records, specifically barred by the False Claims Act, but he also failed to do a follow-up search of licensing database that would have shown that the nurse practitioner had a multi-state license reinstated by the time she worked in Mississippi. This inquiry would have informed him that the entire basis of his lawsuit was demonstrably wrong, noting that he failed to provide any new justification in his last request to overturn the attorney's fees. I would say in this case, based on the facts, he was overzealous. And probably, had he had a legal nurse consulting working with him and advising him and helping him with this case, they might have just simply done a data search and found that information and kept him from bringing this case and causing all this havoc to this poor nurse practitioner and all this problems to the facility and wasting lots of money. But I digress. But I find it interesting that and again, not throwing any. I don't know this attorney. Don't know these people at all. Right? Don't know them at all. But it just seemed like he was on a witch hunt, and he was looking in the wrong direction. So it says false claims, meritorious or not, still dog nursing homes and other healthcare providers, but recent years have offered some promise that courts might rein in the unfounded cases. Last spring, the Supreme Court ruled that the federal government can move to dismiss any false claims suit, even over the objection of whistleblowers who stand to gain financially from ongoing litigation, the Supreme Court ruled Friday morning. The Polanski decision also indicated that states may move to dismiss whistleblower actions when they have intervened, whether that be in an early period when the case is sealed or later as new details emerge or the government finds the case baseless. So the case moved forward. Of course, special counsel Kirk McGill at Hall is still told McKnight's Long-Term News that last year the new ability for the government to move for dismissal of false claims cases could be, quote, a major disincentive for a law firm to bankroll a suit because you could do years of work and the government can dismiss the case out from under you. So we'll see what happens. All right, so here, let's get to our next story. This was a bit of a not surprising, but also disheartening story. It's from the chief healthcare executive, and it says, even though nurses struggle, many aren't getting help. That needs to change. So this is an opinion story. So I wanted to share this with you, and I just want to get your opinion. And what do you think about this? Okay. So it's more than half of all nurses that are struggling with burnout, but some aren't seeking the help they need for their mental health. An American Nurses Association survey of more than 7,400 nurses in May of 2023 found that 56% say they are experiencing burnout. Most say they are experiencing at least one symptom, such as exhaustion, while many say they are consumed by their frustrations at work. However, that same report then showed that about 2/3 of nurses surveyed say they aren't getting any support for their mental health. More than half of the nurses surveyed, 56%, say there is a stigma to mental health services. Most nurses are the nurses said the most common reason they don't seek assistance for their mental health is one that many nurses can understand. They don't have time. The lack of time was the top reason, followed by the sentiment that they should be able to take care of their own needs. Roughly 1 in 5, or 19%, cited a lack of knowledge or resources in not seeking help and concerns that they could lose their job or their colleagues could find out. The American Nurses Association has encouraged nurses to get assistance and has also put out the statements calling for the healthcare industry to recognize the importance of taking care of nurses. The profession must put an end to the stigma that is still attached to mental health issues so that all nurses feel able to get the help that they need, the association said in the 2020 statement. It's also noted that many doctors, they don't seek assistance for their mental health needs because they are worried about their employers or state licensing boards would find out about it. Some nurses have similar concerns about professional repercussions, says Rebecca Love. Hi, Rebecca, a nursing leader and member of the Commission for Nurse Reimbursement. Some nurses think, quote, if you were discovered that you were seeking mental health care as a nurse, suddenly you're a risk to the hospital system, so this is a knock against you. She says she's encouraged by the American Nurse Association efforts to get people to seek help, but she also wonders if the high stress on nurses, coupled with reluctance to get assistance for fear of career damage, is driving some nurses to leave the profession. As Love says, if nurses feel that they can't survive in these environments, then can't seek help because it would actually hurt them in their career as a nurse, are they choosing to leave the profession because there isn't a pathway to actually deal with the trauma that they're dealing with at the bedside? Some mental health advocates are pushing hospitals, healthcare organizations, and state licensing boards to drop unnecessary questions about mental health and treatment. The Dr. Lorna Breen Heroes Foundation has been leading the change, and more than half of the states have now dropped questions about mental health from their licensing questions for physicians. So it says again, Dr. Feist, Corey Feist, founder of and CEO of the Dr. Laura Breen Heroes Foundation, says that nursing licensing is lagging the medical licensing, and so we need to get nursing licensing boards on the same page and get them through this process. Given the success the foundation has had with state boards recently, Feist says he's hopeful to see similar success for nurses, and I hope and agree for that. So I'm going to say, if you are struggling and you're a nurse listening to this, please get help. There is the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You can dial or text 988 to connect with someone to help you. There's also great resources from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. There is also NAMI. NAMI does really great work to support the families and the members with mental illness. And then, of course, you may want to access your employers, if they have it, employee assistance program. Definitely, if you're struggling, please reach out to someone. All right, here's another story. It says Florida ranks last among states at nursing exam pass rates. I have to say, probably not surprised with the whole Nightingale thing that came out of Florida. Yeah, but let's get into it. It says Florida is trying to recruit and retain nurses because of a growing shortage, but a new study shows that the state is leading in the country when it comes to nursing graduates failing their final exam. Nursing students are required to take the NCLEX to earn a license and start working. And according to the Florida Center for Nursing, Florida had the largest number of test takers in the country in 2023, but an average of 76% passed the NCLEX RN and an average of 74% of test takers passed the NCLEX PN. The national passing rate for the NCLEX RN is about 88%, and for the NCLEX PN, it's about 86%. So according to Reina Latorno, who is an educator and the executive director of Florida Center for Nursing, if our graduates from Florida's programs are not passing the NCLEX, they're not able to enter the workforce. So it's really not helping to balance the supply and the demand for nurses right now. Latorno presented the findings to some nursing educators at the Valencia College on Tuesday. She hopes to spread awareness. She says our population continues to grow. We have visitors and a huge tourism industry, and we need to make sure that our healthcare system is robust and create healthy communities. So we'll continue to see what happens. But again, not surprising with the whole Nightingale false, fake nursing diploma things. And I'm not saying that it's because it's Florida, but if you have those issues of these fake diploma mills, and now they got these nurses that are taking the test and taking the test and taking the test till they pass it, and they don't really have the credentials. This is a problem. All right, so let's get into this next story. The Trinity Health, this is coming out of Detroit. Trinity Health ordered to stop retaliating against Grand Haven Hospital union workers. This is from the Detroit Free Press. The National Labor Relations Board has set a March 19th hearing for the Trinity Health Grand Haven Hospital, alleging that hospital leaders threatened, coerced, and intimidated union represented workers and failed to bargain in good faith. Elizabeth Kerwin, director of the NLRB's Region 7, wrote in an order on January 29th, by its overall conduct, Trinity has failed and refused to bargain in good faith. The upcoming hearing will be before an administrative judge in Grand Rapids. She ordered the health system to begin a collective bargaining schedule of at least 40 hours per month, with at least 8 hours per session, until a complete agreement is reached with the Service Employees International Union, or the two sides come to a good faith impasse in negotiations. She also wrote that the hospital administration must recognize the SEIU bargaining unit as the exclusive collective bargaining representative of the certified union with respect to wages, hours, and other terms and conditions of employment. No longer restrain, coerce, or interfere with workers conducting union activity, and to stop discriminating against employees in retaliation for such activity. Restore lost wages, including back pay to union workers who didn't get raises awarded to unrepresented employees. Rescind disciplinary actions, attendance points, leave assessments, and other adverse actions against each affected employee of the union. The SEIU's bargaining unit at Grand Haven Hospital includes 189 diagnostic imaging techs, lab assistants and technologists, housekeepers, dietary workers, social workers, unit clerks, patient care associates, medics, and others who allege Trinity engaged in union busting activity. Trinity has to respond to the NLRB and the SEIU bargaining unit by February 13th. So we'll see what happens, but there's more workers that are looking to unionize at Trinity Health, Michigan. Now, Trinity used to own St. Vincent's Anderson back in the day, before they sold to Ascension. So just FYI. So this is what Trinity has to say in their statement to the Free Press. We have done everything lawfully and in keeping with the wishes of our colleagues who have chosen to no longer be a part of this union. The majority have clearly stated they no longer wish to be represented by SEIU. We hope that we will respect our employees' choices. In the meantime, we look forward to defending ourselves against the SEIU's untrue allegations. So we'll keep an eye on what happens in this story, and if there's any updates, I'll let you know. This is one of our last stories. This is from MedPage Today, and it says over 80% of nurses face workplace violence, a survey finds. U.S. nurses reported a surge in workplace violence in post-pandemic times, according to a new survey from the nation's largest nursing union. In National Nurses United, the NNU poll of 914 nurses, 46% said workplace violence has increased, and 82% said they had experienced at least one type of violence at work in 2023. Additionally, 68% of respondents reported being verbally threatened, and more than a third reported being physically threatened, slapped, punched, or kicked, or having objects thrown at them, according to the report. Only 4% said the workplace violence on their unit had declined in the past year. The survey was conducted from January to December 2023 via email, text, and in person, ultimately including respondents in 48 states and the District of Columbia. In total, 80% worked in a hospital setting, 9% in outpatient clinics, 4% in home care hospice, 4% in skilled care or nursing, long-term care, skilled nursing or long-term care, and the remainder worked in medical offices, were retired or were currently not employed as nurses. In addition to the survey, the NNU conducted focus groups in 7 states and pulled out examples of violence witnessed by nurses in 2023. One nurse said, "I've taken care of our own employees with broken bones, concussions, bite marks, bicep tears," said one emergency department nurse in Colorado, who called attention to a lack of security measures in the department and slow response times from police. A nurse in California said the post-pandemic continued strict visitation policies for COVID patients led family members to lash out at staff. An Illinois-based nurse, meanwhile, recounted an instance where a patient brought a gun into the clinic despite firearms not being allowed. And she says, after the gun incident, we asked for metal detectors to enter the hospital. We were informed by management that it's not feasible, cost prohibitive, and we are down police in the hospital. As a result of these incidents and others, nearly 2/3 of the survey respondents said they experienced, quote, anxiety, fear, or increased vigilance, while more than 1/3 considered leaving the profession, and nearly 1 in 5 changed or left their jobs. Overall, 63% of employers provide training on workplace violence, according to the survey respondents. NNU argued that employers continue to fail to protect nurses from workplace violence. Their data also showed that only 32% of employers provide a clear way to report incidents, and 30% have staff, including security, available to respond to incidents of workplace violence. The report also highlighted that employers come up short in terms of providing ways to mitigate workplace violence, with 42% investigating such incidents and 21% changing practice to help reduce the risk of future incidents. In total, 29% of survey respondents said that their employers reprimanded or blamed the employees for the incident. NNU President Gene Ross, RN, said that employers too often prioritize profits over patient care, including workplace violence prevention measures like safe staffing, violence prevention plans, and training. NNU believes that we need a national enforceable OSHA standard as detailed in the Workplace Violence Prevention, Healthcare, and Social Services Act to protect nurses and other healthcare workers and patients from workplace violence. So, what do you think about this? Now, I can certainly say that I've experienced my share of workplace violence as being a nurse, including being punched in the face by a patient over a cookie. So I can definitely tell you that there needs to be something done about workplace violence in healthcare. And I think that we need to do a better job of this. We have to do something because this is going to continue to happen. All right, so let's get into our nurse making a difference story. And I wanted to share this with you. This is Black History Month, so why not? And it says Black and Brown Male Excellence in Nursing. This was reported by Tina, I'm going to butcher your name, I'm so sorry, Loretta Rodriguez, who is a nurse. And it says a podcast episode, Nurses of Color Belong Everywhere, Decisions Are Made, Statistics on Black Men in Nursing, History of Men in Nursing, the number of Black men in nursing is increasing. And so here's what it says. I am a highly skilled and talented Afro-Latina nurse. I know that I am not the only nurse leader of color out here working hard and playing hard. Throughout my life and my previous career as an educator and my nursing career, I have known I am not the only one, even though I was the only one. And so, first of all, thank you, my sister, for continuing your fight. She says, the only one in my class or program, the only one in my unit or organization. And I can tell you, I understand what you're saying because I just recently went to a CAPNY meeting for our region. And yes, I was the only one. And it says, I've always known my people have and are achieving excellence despite the lack of recognition and opportunity afforded to us. Our contributions in history were erased, omitted, deleted, stolen, and now banned and made illegal. Since the pandemic, I have increased my intentionality and concerted efforts to look for and connect with Black, Latin, Native American, and American Indian Pacific Islander nurses and communities to advocate, celebrate, recognize, and sponsor excellence and the tremendous potential of our power. So, you, my sister, are our nurse making a difference because of what your excellent work is doing out there. So I love the podcast here, and this is what it's saying. It said, I know nurses, especially nurses of colors, belong everywhere decisions about people are made. I am committed to using my privilege, power, and influence to amplify the stories of excellence in my people and communities. This is my purpose and my intention. My first podcast episode, we are here, Black and Brown Male Excellence in Nursing. In this episode, I and 4 Black and Brown male nurses discuss their unique experiences in the nursing profession. So the guests include Michael Williams, Theo Jones, Asa Briggs, and Timothy on Serial. So I'm going to encourage you to hop over and listen to this podcast. I'm definitely going to listen to this podcast, but I think that's wonderful, and we do need to celebrate them. But just so you can know what's happening, this is some of the statistics here. So it says less than 8% of nurses identify as Latino, Latinx, right, or Latin. Black nurses make up 14.5%. Men account for about 12% of nurses nationwide. Yet the number of Black and Latin male nurses cannot be counted due to their small numbers. Yep. And so this is a very important podcast. I'm going to see if I can find this so I can list this on your list. But this is great because this is a couple of places, organizations that I've heard of. The National Association of Hispanic Nurses. Yep. The DNPs of Color. I love that. Those are the docs. The New England Minority Leadership Conference. I've not heard of them. Of course, you have the National Black Nurses Association, NBNA. Asian American Pacific Islander Nurses Association, National Alaska Native American Indian Nurses Association, and the National Coalition of Ethnic Minority Nurses Association. So Black and brown male nurses are here, and they're excellent. And so I just think this is great. I'm going to definitely listen for this podcast episode. And when I get that link, I will definitely be posting that for you as well. All right, so those are my nurses making a difference, and congratulations. This you can listen to this with Dr. Tina Laredo Rodriguez on the podcast episode on Apple and Spotify. So I'll definitely be heading over for that. All right, that is all of our stories for today. So let's go ahead and get into some of our great announcements that we have. So first off, we have our CPR trainings coming up. So if you haven't signed up for CPR, head on over to Baxter Professional Services Health Education, sign up for CPR. If you're looking for CNA training, don't worry, we've got that available for you as well. You can sign up for one of our information sessions on that website as well. But those of you nurses that are out there frustrated and wanting to do something different, and maybe you need to get away from the bedside, or maybe you want to be an entrepreneur and stay at the bedside, but you want something different in your career, I'm officially inviting you to join us at the Nurse Shark Academy. We provide help for nurses wherever you are, and other healthcare professionals, I will say that, other healthcare professionals, wherever you are in your healthcare and career journey. So join us at the Nurse Shark Academy, and I'm going to go ahead and add our information to the stage. Shark Academy at the Nurse Shark Academy. So we'll start move. Let me put it back up there. There we go. Frustrated, looking for something new? Are you looking for more? Nurses, are you ready to feel the sun? You will dream big and expand your consciousness as an entrepreneur. Your nursing license is your key to freedom. Join the Nurse Shark Academy at the nursesharkacademy.biz today. And that's our new promo for the Nurse Shark Academy show, Nurse Shark Academy. And you can always watch us on the Nurse Shark Academy show and meet some great nurse leaders and business owners that are doing wonderful things out there. I love talking to nurse entrepreneurs. So if you're a nurse entrepreneur and you haven't been featured on our show, reach out to me at the nursesharkacademy.biz. If you are a nurse and you're thinking about entrepreneurship or looking for your next career move, join us at the nursesharkacademy.biz. I'm excited to be able to be here to help you. And as we like to say, why don't you come and feel the sun? All right, that ends our show for today. I'm going to see you next week. Thanks for tuning in for Nursing News You Can Use. And I will see you next week on Wednesday, live at 5.